talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda's swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda's swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Sunday morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Let's get ready to get into it, beloveds. Let's see who's in here. All right, DJ Big Six, Lillian X, Desmond, We the People, Dark Tube. All right, Nene, I see you, beloved. Okay. With that all being said, the Messy Channel show is here. All right. Leon is here, Emperor Rex. Okay, so let's get this party started. Bronze Flat Power God. Everybody hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. I see you love Christy. Okay, so with that all being said, let's have a brief word from my sponsor. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to the moderators because y'all know they put in work. Now let's get into this, get into these receipts. But before we do, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all being said, don't forget that you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Now let's get into it. Everybody hit the like button. Don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving those notifications.
Every time open a sex gate, my kick, the words, my baby, can't even on keeping money safe. It's like an earthquake, don't call you out. Create a close to head, just get it from your back, such an awesome play.
All right. Well, Trump was looking good in his pink, wasn't he, though? Okay, so hey, Dervis. Dangerous just entered the chat. Danielle. All right. All right, Danielle said, listening while getting ready for work. Okay, beloved. Hey, Buckhurst, DC. Okay, so with that all being said, hold on. Can we see that again real quick? I'm sorry. I need another one.
Every time open a sex gate, my kick, the words, my baby, can't even on keeping money.
I'm done. Okay, the internet is undefeated. Okay, so that all being said, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, listen, for those of you who didn't see it, let me just go ahead and post the link. For those of you who haven't seen it, I'm going to be live again at 4:30 because we have to talk about this witness. Hold on, press does not go. Okay, so we have to talk about this witness, Amanda Ungaro. She did an interview. It wasn't a video interview, but she spoke to the Courier. Okay, she spoke to the Courier, and that was released on yesterday. So we're going to get into that, and also some more information about the Epstein debacle. Okay, so that all been said, let me just drop the link real quick. Let me just go ahead and drop the link in the chat before we get started. Hey, Anthony, beloved. Feminine Energy, hello. Okay, so there's the link right there. If you're going to tune in later at 4:30, I'll be right back. Okay, or shall I say right black? Okay, so now let's talk about it because here's the thing. They're saying that the soldiers are running out of rations, that the food has not been supplied to them in quite some time. And also the food looks disgusting. Oh my Lord. But we're going to get into that. But what I want to talk about before we do is Pete Cagsbreath. Because do you all remember Lobstergate? Now, I find it interesting that the soldiers don't have enough food. Okay, no matter the reason. But you all remember this report right here. Okay, hold on. You all remember this report right here. Lobstergate. Pete Cagsbreath, Pentagon faces backlash over $7 million lobster spree. Okay, but the soldiers who are over there risking their lives and limb, this is what's going on. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is also nefarious as far as I'm concerned. Now, a government watchdog report reveals the Pentagon, under Defense Secretary Cagsbreath, spent $6.9 million on lobster tails during a single month in late 2025. I don't believe that. Where is this money really going? Who needs that many lobster tails? Okay, was he feeding the hungry? Okay, this reeks of money being misappropriated. Now, the expenditure was part of a record-breaking $93.4 billion use it or lose it spree in September that included ribeye steaks, king crab, and luxury furniture. Luxury furniture for who? Critics and lawmakers are slamming the optics of the spending, contrasting the surf and turf budget with the administration's public push for federal efficiency. So that all been said, we've heard enough about that. Let's go to what they're now saying about the soldiers being low on food. They say morale is going to be at an all-time low in Iran war as troops living on meager rations, okay, according to Postal Service, as Postal Service stops delivering. And they say the food is tasteless and there's not nearly enough and they're hungry all the time. That food looks so darn nasty, honey. I think I wouldn't want to eat it either, okay, even if I did have some. U.S. troops deployed in the Middle East during the Iran war are facing scarce food supplies, forcing some to ration their meager meals and endure prolonged hunger. Alarmed by these conditions, family members have reportedly spent significant time or significant sums sending care packages to help nourish their loved ones. But U.S. Postal Service deliveries to the region have been suspended, leaving boxes stuffed with home-cooked meals and protein bars stranded in limbo. This is absolutely deplorable. They say supplies are going really low. This is what Navy sailor aboard the USS Tripoli texted his mother last month. Morale is going to be an all-time low. More than 50,000 American service members are currently stationed in the Middle East. Now, this is including thousands of Marines and sailors aboard warships patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. Multiple vessels have not made port since the war erupted in late February. Hostilities were paused after the U.S. and Iran announced a 2-week ceasefire last Tuesday, and both sides are now engaged in peace negotiations, which have yet to yield a breakthrough. And on Thursday, President Donald Trump said the conflict is going along swimmingly, the lies, and signaled that it should be ending pretty soon. Okay, I have several questions. Let's go to what the people are saying. I'm going to go to this news report first from Orbit News.
Sailors are going hungry on the Strait of Hormuz as images of tiny food portions emerge. One of the food rations allegedly pictured by a Marine on board the USS Abraham Lincoln shows a dry meat burger, a strip of processed meat, and a small portion of sliced carrots. But the US Navy has denied the report, saying routine menu adjustments are simply how we optimize our endurance to keep our warships in the fight. Families have also reported that care packages were not reaching deployed units. The US sailors are going.
Now, how do you know they're lying? Okay, when they're saying the administration or the military is disagreeing, I don't believe it, because how are the parents, okay, saying that their sons and daughters are reaching out to them about it? Okay, so clearly it's true as far as I'm concerned. This is a darn shame. And the food looks hideous. Okay, it looks absolutely disgusting. It looks awful, like it's not fit for a dog, in my opinion, but, what do I know?
American sailors and Marines are apparently starving on U.S. Navy ships because Trump and Hegseth weren't prepared to start the war with Iran before they did it. These are some of the photos that USA Today got from military families. This is what sailors and Marines are eating right now, and they're rationing this. Trump and Hegseth started this war now a couple months ago, and in all that time, they didn't think that, oh, maybe we need to feed our troops. Military families have been desperately trying to send care packages to their sailors and Marines who are trapped on these ships near the Strait of Hormuz. But all of those packages and all of that food is stuck in limbo, again, because Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth didn't think about the logistical needs of a military at war. Folks, let me tell you, as someone who's been to war, when you get a clear sign that your chain of command, the people in charge of you, don't care about your safety and well-being, there is nothing more demoralizing than that. And when you've got thousands, maybe tens of thousands of sailors and Marines basically starving for weeks, while Trump and Hegseth get in front of cameras and talk about how they could do this war forever, being armchair generals and pretending like they're so tough, there's not a lot that's more demoralizing than that. The way that Trump and Hegseth are prosecuting this war is going to be disastrous for American national security for probably a generation. When sailors and Marines get trapped at sea for months longer than the deployment they were initially told that they were going on, and now they're left to basically starve and share scraps of whatever this is, do you really think they're going to re-enlist? When young people at home who may be thinking about the military are seeing stories about sailors and Marines going on extra long deployments and getting stuck on ships to starve, do you think they're going to leave high school and think about joining the military? The only reason that these sailors and Marines are starving right now is because feeding them is not a priority. We have already seen what the United States military is capable of. When that pilot was downed in Iran, the U.S. military moved heaven and earth to find them. And I'm glad that that happened. That should happen. Now, it's my personal opinion. I think that feeding thousands of sailors and Marines is at least as important as finding one downed pilot. The Trump administration is not feeding sailors and Marines because they do not care about them. And they are hoping that the American people don't care about them, because rescuing a downed pilot from behind enemy lines, that's a really sexy story. Whereas feeding sailors and Marines, it's not going to get the headlines, I guess. So
let me tell you something. What he said is an oxymoron. Now, he said that they moved heaven and earth to get the downed pilot, but they don't care about the soldiers, and they're not caring if they eat or not. Here's the thing. That was a sensationalized and a sexy story, whatever he called it. Okay, it was a sensational story nonetheless, but here's the thing. We already know that that story is not true, at least not the way they portrayed it. They really went over there to steal the enriched uranium, so that would be a big win for them. Okay, we already know that they scripted the whole thing, allegedly, from Saving Private Ryan. Now, right, they would have been better off if they'd have used the script from Black Hawk Down. Now, let's go to this next report on this, and then we're going to move on, because we've got to talk about Kash Patel. I mean, that food looked absolutely disgusting. What even was that? What even was it?
USA Today is reporting that servicemen aboard at least 2 U.S. warships operating in the Persian Gulf are saying that the ships have not been resupplied in some time, that food rations are running low, and portion sizes have been cut. The food is substandard, and that American servicemen are going hungry. The servicemen making these claims are reportedly serving aboard the USS Tripoli and the USS Abraham Lincoln. Servicemen provided their families with 2 photos of sample meals they had received recently. In the first photo, you can see a kind of hamburger patty and what appears to be a slice of gray mystery meat, along with some sliced carrots, which appear to be canned. In the other photo, you can see a small amount of shredded meat in some kind of sauce and what appears to be a fajita wrap. The servicemen also report that they are running out of personal toiletry items and that morale is declining. Alarmed families have been putting together care packages of food and personal items and sending them to their children serving aboard these ships, but the packages are not being delivered. The Postal Service says it has suspended delivery to those ships because they are operating in a war zone and they don't know when the packages will be delivered. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says this is fake news. USA Today is reporting that servicemen aboard at least 2 U.S. warships operate.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to how Pete Hegseth, and I told you all this before, how he uses the same wording, okay, as Trump. Do you all notice that? Now, he's talking about fake news. It's absolutely not fake news. Okay, so now let's talk about how many people they say are deceased. Now, I was going to show you all this video, but it is not allowing me unless I log in, and I don't have time for all that. So I'm just going to let you all hear this video. It says, we told you this. Over 900 plus Americans died in this war for BB. Okay, so let's listen to this. And then there's another, it's actually more than this, in my opinion, because I told you all weeks ago that there was numerous, over 3,000 of them at the hospital in Germany, which is also crazy that they have to take them all the way to Germany to get, to get treated. Okay, but so anyway, let's listen to this.
And a lot of these bodies, they're not sending to America, they're sending to Germany. Oh, you don't believe me? What's there?
Over 900 of our sons and daughters have been killed in Trump's war for Israel against Iran, and over 5,000 have been wounded. But they haven't brought them to the United States yet. They don't want the people of the United States to know that. So they've shipped them to Germany.
Did y'all hear that? Said over 900 dead, and they have not brought the bodies to the United States yet because they don't want people to know the numbers. Okay? They don't want people to know the numbers, he says. Now, with that all being said, that guy speaking is the same man, and I forget his name, but he's the same man who was talking about the USS Liberty, if you all remember when I showed you all that video. In Paris, they're reporting more than 1,000 American military killed, and this was the 11th of March. This is well over a month ago.
Well, the pedo president mansplains to the world that tomahawks can come from anywhere, which they can't. They have to be fired off of very specific vessels, like, submarine and shit like that. All right, everybody is saying that only the United States had the tomahawks or the ability to shoot them. Iran did not have tomahawks. So riddle us.
We already know about the tomahawks and who did what with that, but she said over 1,000. Now, let's talk about Kash Patel. FBI Director Kash Patel, according to a report, was recently freaked out over suspicions that he has been fired by the White House. Now, Sarah Fitzpatrick of The Atlantic reported last week saying Patel was unable to log in to an internal computer system, which convinced him that he was another victim of the purge within the Trump administration. People close to Patel said to have witnessed his behavior after the login trouble and have stated that he is paranoid about losing his job. He obviously has not been fired, and the access problem was simply a technical error. But there are current officials who are allegedly not very optimistic about his future in the Bureau. They say, we're all just waiting for the word. This is what a senior official told The Atlantic, hinting as his potential ouster. Now, the publication has learned from insiders that Patel is allegedly a heavy drinker, describing him as erratic and someone who is suspicious of others and prone to jumping to conclusions without any substantial evidence. Okay, then they say there have been reportedly instances when Patel was inebriated and meetings had to be rescheduled. Several officials reportedly told The Atlantic that his drinking problem has been a cause for concern. Well, it is definitely a cause for concern. What do you all think about this? This man is the director of the FBI. This is the man who's looking at cases to be prosecuted, who's going through evidence, okay, of crimes and whatnot. And this is the second person that we've heard of having an alcohol problem within the administration, because we already know about Cake's breath. Now it says, amidst all these claims, the White House seems to be backing Patel and highlighting his contributions in reduction of domestic crime. White House Press Secretary Caroline Lovett recently said that crime in the U.S. has plummeted to the lowest level in more than 100 years, with Patel as the FBI chief. Well, here's the thing. If crime levels have plummeted, it has nothing to do with Kash Patel. Please, let's not sit here and try to pretend that he's so tough on crime, and that's why crime is going down. He hasn't done anything since he's been in office. What has he done? Somebody let me know. Patel himself has lashed out over fake hit pieces against him and threatened to sue The Atlantic. Yeah, we'll see how that all turns out. Now, Patel and his legal team have filed a lawsuit against Fitzpatrick and The Atlantic over the intoxication claims that are in her report, which they say are fabricated. And this is what he posted to X. See you and your entire entourage of false reporting in court. But do keep at it with the fake news. Actual malice standard is now what some would call a legal layup. Sit down somewhere. Sarah, top to bottom, this is one of the most absurd things I've ever read. Completely false at a nearly 100% clip, and with a 2-hour deadline. Copying my colleague Erica, we'll get you some more thorough responses. So anyway, I absolutely believe that he's probably drinking. You know, it seems like these people may be under a lot of pressure. I mean, with all the lies that they've supposedly allegedly told, you know, and then having to keep up the ruse as though they're winning and, you know, as though they have everything figured out and they have a whole strategy and all of that. Well, I can see why that would lead one, feeble-minded though they must be, to want to take a sip or two. Okay? So with that all been said, Patel's advisor said a lawsuit is being filed. So here is Jen Psaki. Let's go to this clip. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to share my screen. Ha! Derby said, please build us a new earth. I know, right? Well, it does say in the Bible that the earth shall be made anew.
I should note the FBI responded to The Atlantic with a graceful and eloquent statement attributed to Patel. And here's what he said. Print it, all false. I'll see you in court. Bring your checkbook. Graceful, eloquent. Okay. Joining me now is the reporter who broke that story, staff writer for The Atlantic, Sarah Fitzpatrick. First of all, Sarah, I'm so grateful you could be here because we saw this story and we reached out and we were like, can you come talk to us about it? And here you are.
I want to talk to you about all the details of this bombshell report. I just skimmed the story, the service there, I should say. But first, I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to this reaction to your piece, because Patel's advisor, Erica Knight, called your piece fabricated stories. She said that every serious DC reporter passed on. Sarah Fitzpatrick and Jeffrey Goldberg printed it anyway. Lawsuit is being filed. What do you say to that?
I say that I am a very careful, very diligent, award-winning investigative reporter with a history of award-winning work across multiple organizations. You and I, in fact, have worked together previously. I stand by every word of this reporting. We have excellent attorneys, and it is a surprising statement, but a very telling statement, I believe. And I would also note, we reached out for comment to the White House and to the Justice Department, neither of which disputed anything. We gave multiple opportunities, including 19 detailed questions. So we stand by every word. And look, this is telling, because there are so many people. You alluded to it earlier. These are not the types of people who are willing to speak out outside of the FBI, especially right now, because Kash Patel is going after people with polygraphs in a way that has never happened at the Bureau. So for it to be this level of alarm, this is people genuinely concerned that America is a danger as a result of this conduct. And I feel, a real responsibility to take care of that reporting incredibly carefully. And The Atlantic is nothing but diligent, and we have amazing lawyers and amazing editors, and I stand by every word.
Okay, y'all heard what she said. She stands by every word. I'm sure that for her to be saying that, she must have some credible sources, because I don't think she would risk her job, okay, and her credibility. Now, Pensiola says the straight is clopen. Okay, I mean, they can't make up their minds, thanks to Trump. Thanks to Trump. And speaking of which, Trump said, he's been talking real tough. He said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And he's made a myriad of threats. Okay, so let's get into it. This was reported by the Times of India. U.S. is the Iran war ceasefire live updates. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. So let me see where I want to start with this. Okay, Iran's President Mossad Pezeshkian on Sunday questioned the United States authority to limit Iran's nuclear program, asking what legal basis Washington had for such demands. Okay, now Reuters, citing the Iranian student news agency, reported that Pezeshkian said the U.S. had no valid justification to deny Iran access to its own technology. Then the next update, Turkey said it remained optimistic that a 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States, set to expire on Wednesday, would be extended, saying that no one wants to see a new war break out when the ceasefire expires next week. We hope the parties will extend the ceasefire. This is what Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said on Sunday at the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, saying, I hope there will be an extension and I'm optimistic. They say the It's Not Real Army says it carried out a series of strikes that killed more than 150 Hezbollah fighters. Now, among those killed was Eli Rida Abbas, okay, which is said was Hezbollah's commander in Bint Jebel. Now, the southern Lebanese town and its surroundings were the site of intense clashes between It's Not Real troops and Hezbollah militants in the days leading up to the ceasefire. They say It's Not Real gave no evidence to support its claims, and Hezbollah didn't immediately confirm the death of its commander. They say the ceasefire took effect early on Friday. The next one says, Mala, an interior designer in Tehran, says she has been forced to sell her valuables in gold to pay employees as Iran's internet shutdown, imposed at the middle of the Middle East war, tanks her business. They say there's an internet blackout. Okay, we're going to skip past all of that. We're going to skip past all of that. Let me just go straight to where Trump says no more Mr. Nice Guy. Hold on, beloveds. I didn't know he was ever being nice, did you? He's been talking tough and making idiotic threats the whole time. Here it is. I got the clip. So let's go to this. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. Pensilola, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved, and your insight into the topic. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
America is starting to President Trump is starting to talk. The East Coast of America is starting to wake up right now, and he's just posted on Truth Social saying Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Many of them were aimed at a French ship, he says, and a freighter from the United Kingdom. That wasn't nice, was it, says President Trump. My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan. They'll be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. They're helping us without knowing, and they are the ones that lose with the closed passage $500 million a day. The United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the US, Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska to load up compliments of the IRGC, always wanting to be the tough guy, he says. We're offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope they take it, because if they don't, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran. No more Mr. Nice Guy, he says. They'll come down fast, they'll come down easy, and if they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has to be done, which should have been done to Iran by other presidents for the last 47 years. It's time for the Iran killing machine to end. He signs off. President Donald J. Trump.
Barcelona didn't just host a summit.
Okay, so let's go to this next clip that just came out 7 minutes ago, because they're saying that Barcelona sent a message to Donald Trump.
Barcelona didn't just host a summit. It sent a stern message to Donald Trump. Standing alongside Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez made it clear it was not routine diplomacy. At their first bilateral summit, both the leaders signed 15 agreements, covering everything from critical minerals to artificial intelligence. Sánchez is hosting about a dozen heads of state and government in a bid to position Barcelona as a hub of resistance to Trump.
No president from any country in the entire world, no matter how powerful or influential they may be, has the right to simply keep imposing their own rules on other sovereign nations, not a single one. And the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council are expected to convene to fundamentally alter their conduct. We cannot simply wake up each and every morning and then go to sleep each and every night, with a tweet from a president of the Republic threatening the entire world.
They are making a war.
That is to say, they all make their decisions without consulting the UN, of which they are members and are part of the Security Council. I'm worried about Cuba, very worried about Cuba. Cuba certainly has its problems, but that's a problem for the Cubans themselves. It's not a problem for Lula, Claudia, or Trump. It's a problem that belongs to the Cuban people. Stop this goddamn blockade on Cuba and let the Cuban people live their own lives.
It's not possible that we stay quiet about this, everyone.
And we're going to fight, Ramaphosa, for you to attend the G20 in the United States, because the American president does not have the right to remove you from the G20, because he is not the owner of the G20.
All right, so you better get yourself prepared to go to the United States and then just stand there at the entrance, waiting patiently to get inside the G20. Thank you very much.
It is not enough to simply resist. We have to propose, we have to lead, we have to demonstrate that democracy is not only defended, but that it strengthens and perfects itself day by day.
Pedro Sánchez has emerged as one of Trump's most outspoken critics in the European Union and NATO.
So it just looks like everybody has turned on Trump. And he's no one to blame.
EVE Online is a vast universe.
The Spanish Prime Minister was among the first NATO leaders to oppose the United States military campaign in Iran, dubbing it illegal. Sanchez had barred the use of Spanish airspace in the 2 U.S. air bases in the country for operations supporting the strikes. Trump had responded by threatening to cut off all trade agreements with Spain. On Saturday, Trump in a Truth Social post wrote, "Has anybody looked at how badly the country of Spain is doing? Their financial numbers, despite contributing almost nothing to NATO and their military defense, are absolutely horrendous. Sad to watch." Trump has been snubbed by several NATO allies who not only refuse to be directly involved in the Iran war, but have also stood up against Washington, D.C.'s blockade of Iranian ports.
Has Donald Trump been betrayed by NATO over Iran war again? After refusing to join the United States and Israel war against Iran, the NATO allies said no to being involved in Trump's plan to block Iranian ports. The move marks another friction between NATO and Trump, who has already threatened to withdraw from the powerful US-led military alliance. According to Reuters, NATO allies, including United Kingdom and France, said they would not be drawn into the conflict by taking part in the blockade. Both the nations said they were working on an initiative to open the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of global oil supplies normally passes. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer told BBC, and I quote, "We're not supporting the blockade. My decision has been very clearly that whatever the pressure, and there's been some considerable pressure, we're not getting dragged into the war." French President Emmanuel Macron, in an X post, said, and I quote, "As regards the Strait of Hormuz, in the coming days, together with the United Kingdom, we will organize a conference with those countries prepared to contribute alongside us to a peaceful multinational mission aimed at restoring freedom of navigation in the strait. This strictly defensive mission, separate from the warring parties to the conflict, is intended to be deployed as soon as circumstances permit." Trump has minced no words in criticizing NATO ever since the war began.
Very frustrated with NATO countries. Are you planning on?
Well, they're coming up. They're going to be coming up. But I'm very disappointed in NATO. They didn't do that. They weren't there for us. We pay trillions of dollars for NATO, and they weren't there for us. Remember what I said. NATO was not there. Now they want to come up, but there's no real threat anymore. But NATO was not there for us. We'll see what happens. But, you know, we spent trillions of dollars on NATO to help them guard really against Russia. When you think of it, we're guarding against Russia. And I've long thought it was a little ridiculous, but we spent trillions of dollars doing it. And I think that's going to be under very serious examination.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. First of all, I believe that Trump and Bibi just thought that once they start this war, that NATO's automatically going to come on board when they let them know, because of them being allies. And I also think that the reason that Trump didn't notify NATO that he was about to start this war is because they likely would have been against it from the beginning and would have tried to talk him out of it. But he didn't want to listen to reason. He only wanted to listen to Bibi, because I believe Bibi is blackmailing him. But not only is Bibi allegedly blackmailing him, now they're saying that Ghislaine is as well. So we're going to get into that in a minute. So I'm sorry. This is just not going the way that Trump had planned. Well, that's the problem. He actually didn't plan. And so that's definitely why it's not going the way he wants it to. Bad, evil, corrupt, and un-American. Dems slam Trump as they gain momentum ahead of midterms. Let's go to the clip.
Participating in Michigan's Democratic Party convention, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, it's good to see all three of you. I love you. I can't wait to have you have fun and cover this state in this primary. I find it pure hell right now.
I know. I was going trying to say, for reporters, it's one thing. For those of you that have to do the work and watch your team fight it out, it's probably a different thing. But you were at the convention this weekend with the folks that you saw, whether they were 2028ers or not, but the folks who are seen as kind of like the future of the Democratic Party and the folks that you talked to while you were there. What are you hearing from from Democrats who are looking at Donald Trump and saying, we have a problem here?
So I would say to you that there is the one thing that pulls people together, that after we survive the August primary, and this weekend is a very rough weekend, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's got to be that we have to get rid of the man in the White House, that we will be that winning the House, keeping that Senate seat are going to be critical to being something that is going to be able to stop President Trump. This state is a very complicated state, as you know. We have some proxy races today that are going to reflect the August primary. There's a lot of tension you don't see in other states, quite frankly. When we have a very significant Jewish population here, a very significant Muslim population here, both communities hurting, raw, and we got to find a way to pull everybody together. I think Cory Booker was great yesterday. He, talked to you. You played a clip of his doing that. Governor Beshear was point blank on, talk normally, which you guys have all heard me say multiple times, talk like normal people. And Kamala was good at just talking about the reality. On the ground, there were more people here than we have had. Even the Women's Luncheon, which is where those speeches you played from, was the largest it's ever been, and there were lots of men there too. Last night's dinner was the biggest dinner we've ever had. So people are energized. You feel it in the crowd. We just got to find a way that we're all going to come together and turn out the vote in November.
Farm in the wild.
Listen, let's talk about something that the news really hasn't been reporting on. Now, I think I saw maybe one or two like 30 to 40-second clips. But did you all know that the Raytheon building caught fire, and nearly burned down? Did you all know that? And I meant to tell you all that days ago, but it slipped my mind. Pensilola says all about the marketing bunkers, okay? Thank you for insight to the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, have you all heard anything about that? Let's talk about it. And for those of you who don't know what the Raytheon building is, it's here in Georgia, and it's basically used for the research, development, and manufacturing of advanced defense systems like missiles, radars, and sensors. Okay? Major facilities focus on producing technologies like the Spy-6 naval radar, Patriot missile systems, and other intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance tools. Now, with that being said, it was on fire. All right, it was on fire. Now, it didn't burn down completely, but like I said, it was on fire. And I want to say this was maybe like a week ago. Okay, so let's talk about it. Because I don't know why the news isn't reporting on this. I just find it very interesting. I'm going to go to a TikToker. Yeah, they kept that quiet. They sure did. And I wonder how it caught on fire. Okay, and who did it? Was it purposely or what happened? Because they're just keeping real tight-lipped on it.
Hey guys, a Raytheon building was set on fire. You know, Raytheon, the U.S. defense contractor, the same Raytheon that just secured a $1.7 billion contract to keep supplying fucking missiles. Yeah, that Raytheon. We remember the naval ship that couldn't go out and do its fucking mission because the laundry room caught on fire? People aren't going. People are done slaughtering innocent civilians, schools, hospitals, bridges for no fucking reason. For fucking Israel and fucking this administration so they can do open market manipulations, right? And take money from both sides and kill a fuck ton of people and then make money off of it. While everyone, including us, even here, are fucking struggling just to fucking survive. So no, we're not going to go fight a war of a...
I'm going to fast forward him because he has more curse words than I can care to hear.
Raytheon building caught on fire. There's a lot of corporations' buildings that are spontaneously combusting. It's Kind of strange, don't you think? But Raytheon's kind of a big one. Raytheon is a weapons contractor. Raytheon is one of the companies that sends a lot of stuff to, that country that you can't talk about or your videos don't go anywhere. But I feel like the news now is suppressing the numbers of fires because I haven't seen any video or major news outlets talking about the Raytheon building that caught on fire. The only thing I could find were a couple of small local news people who were in the area that were talking about it. If it wasn't for, the internet and my addiction to it, I probably wouldn't have even found this fire. But I do think it's interesting that the media is starting to talk less and less about these fires because there's been fires all over the place. A bunch of warehouses are on fire, and Raytheon's company's building now is on fire, and the news seems to be downplaying it. It's kind of like how during school shootings, all they do is talk about the shooters, but nobody wants to talk about the, suspected people who are doing these fires. It's almost like they're afraid people might, put money on their books or something like that.
Now, you know what? Did y'all hear that? That's a thought. They just might. Who knows? Or maybe they think this will encourage others to do the same. Who knows? But they're definitely keeping this story suppressed for whatever reason. And like he said, you may see a couple of local stories, local media outlets reporting it, but those are only 30 to 40-minute broadcasts. Okay, nothing given any serious details. What is he doing? I'm not sure what his point is, but
Before America entered Venezuela.
Oh, no wonder. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had it muted. I'm like, why is he just sitting there like that? Hold on.
Entered Venezuela. Meet Senator Blkmailing. Back in September 2023, he bought shares in RTX, which is the parent company of Raytheon, and Raytheon manufactures the Tamir interceptors for Israel's Iron Dome system. And he made these purchases while sitting.
Y'all heard that, right? For who? For their Iron Dome.
Sitting on the Senate Armed Services Committee that oversees every military operation. 24 days later, Hamas attacks Israel and the stock shoots up 18%. Over the next 12 months, the stock rose by over 69% amidst more defense spending. And you think, okay, that's already bad, but it gets even so much worse. On December 29th, 2025, the same Mellon suddenly buys the oil companies Chevron and ConocoPhillips and Raytheon again. And days later, America enters Venezuela and captures President Maduro. Chevron happens to operate the Venezuelan oil fields, and ConocoPhillips was claiming $9 billion from Venezuela. This isn't luck or coincidence. This is a pattern, and the pattern is called insider knowledge. But since corruption is only bad if you're not a part of it,
war profiteers always win.
What we do saves lives. It protects peace and democracy throughout the world.
This couldn't be further from the truth.
Abby Martin is an investigative journalist and the creator of the Empire Files, an independent media outlet that dissects the inner workings of U.S. empire. Her reporting engages with a hard truth. War is a business, and business is booming.
The military-industrial complex plays the center role in shaping American foreign policy. It is the shaper of U.S. foreign policy.
Look what is written here. USA. These are the American weapons behind me.
Today, just 5 U.S. companies dominate the entire global defense industry. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics. And this business model works. In 2023, U.S. defense companies made almost $1 trillion in sales, with a record $765 billion of that coming directly from government contracts.
It fuels the conflicts. I mean, you look at Gaza and Ukraine, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all of their stocks exploded. Their profits were massive. Their shareholders had huge returns on those wars.
It's true. In the year following Russia's initial invasion of Ukraine, the stock price for General Dynamics rose nearly 34%. 1 year after the Hamas-led attacks on Israel, Lockheed Martin saw an increase of over 54%. And of course, the other top contractors benefited in their own ways too. And that pipeline of profit has been in place for decades. Since 1948, the US has sent over $300 billion in foreign aid to Israel, more than any other country. Most of that comes in the form of annual grants that Israel has to spend on American weapons. For example, Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system has been a goldmine for companies like Raytheon that produce its parts. And this isn't a one-off. Gaza is just the latest example. Since 2001, the US has spent $14 trillion on war. Nearly half of that went to private defense contractors.
All of this is a joke. It's all a show. So we, the taxpayers, subsidize the defense industry. The defense industry hires lobbyists to go and perform on the Hill and pretend like they're independent experts. And really, it's all just a big game, isn't it? And the joke's on us.
So yeah, the line between the US military and for-profit defense companies is becoming blurrier every day. But the real cost comes to those who live where the bombs fall.
I'm a man of faith and a proud Democrat because I listen to Georgians.
All right, so definitely keeping that under wraps. But now, before we go on, let's talk about, oh my Lord, this lady's face. Y'all, this lady's face is as unattractive as can be. I'm not going to say she's ugly because y'all know. Anonymous voice said the joke is always on us. Sad but true, beloved. I absolutely have to agree. Y'all know I don't like to call people ugly, so she's facially deficient, attractive deficient. Look at her face. Y'all see that? Yikes. Sheesh. Somebody help her. Okay, but hold on, because I want to go to this video where they say, hold on. Where they say, Ghislaine, this report, where they talk about Ghislaine. Here it is. Well, listen to this. Now, this is what Representative Melanie Stansbury said. No, I can't confirm this, but clearly Ms. Stansbury thinks that she can. Okay, please pay attention. She has the receipts. Clearly, it says, breaking. Now, this was reported 14 hours ago. Breaking. Representative Melanie Stansbury confirms that Ghislaine Maxwell is blackmailing Trump to try to get a pardon. Do y'all hear this? Now, on MSNBC, Representative Stansbury just blew the lid off the disgusting scheme. Convicted child trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell is actively offering to clear Donald Trump's name in hopes that he'll pardon her. Didn't I tell y'all that months ago? Wasn't hard to figure that one out. She's trying to gain a pardon by essentially saying that she would exonerate the president when she knows very well that he's deeply implicated in Epstein's activities, according to Stansbury. They were friends for years. Stansbury confirmed FBI files contain explosive allegations that Trump R-worded a minor, and Maxwell, a convicted sexual predator, trafficker, and groomer, has mountains of dirt on him. The evidence is overwhelming and everyone knows it. Now, she knows she has dirt on him, Stansbury warned. Maxwell is dangling exoneration because she believes it's her ticket out of prison, and Trump may be desperate enough to take the deal to hide from the Epstein files. Even the Supreme Court already rejected Maxwell's attempt to overturn her conviction, but Stansbury says if Trump tries to pardon this monster, there will be court action to stop it. Now, the whole Epstein affair is a massive cover-up in plain sight. Trump is so terrified of the Epstein evidence that he is scheming to free one of the most notorious child offenders or traffickers in history just to save himself. You might ask, how could you sink so low? But just think about what he's done in the past, and you have your answer. If the thought of Trump pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell to bury his own Epstein scandals makes you ill, please like it, share. This is all nefarious. Now, this is what Congressman Ted Lieu had to say.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children. of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations. And I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now who were girls at the time who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
Okay, I absolutely agree. I'm going to have to absolutely agree with that. Okay, make it all make sense. Now, with that all being said, Pensacola says judgment is here. They're telling it guilty all. I absolutely believe that many of them are guilty, beloved. I absolutely do. And I hope everyone pays the price for the nefarious things they have done to these children. Okay, thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, why do y'all hear this story? How many of you knew that Trump was involved in football in the 1980s? 1985, if you don't know it, Donald Trump made Doug Flutie the highest paid football player in football. And it all turned out to be a scam. Let's get into it. Now, the reason I'm playing this, you may say, well, Queen Ahmadiyyah, what in the world does Trump being involved with USFL football back in 1985 and signing Doug Flutie as the highest paid football player of all times and being a whole scam, what does that have to do with the war? Well, just listen, because the way Trump conducted himself back then is the same way he conducts himself now. Only now he's just more brass about it. He has more power and more authority, so he can get away with a whole lot more. But just listen to what this guy says about this, because who knew? I never knew that Trump was involved in football. Okay, I had never had any idea. Okay, let's get into it. I didn't even know who the hell Doug Flutie was, in fact, until I looked it all up. Here we go.
Flutie, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner out of Boston College. So in 1985, Doug Flutie, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner out of Boston College, signed a 5-year, $7 million contract with the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. And the deal made him the highest paid player in professional football. And it was all organized, negotiated by Donald Trump, owner of the New Jersey Generals. And Donald Trump's coach at the time was a guy named Walt Michaels, who begged Trump to not sign Doug Flutie and instead draft Randall Cunningham, the quarterback out of UNLV. But Trump loved Flutie, loved the attention afforded him, loved the publicity, loved how he looked. Look at him. He's a handsome guy with the hair. Loved the idea of having 2 Heisman Trophy winners in the backfield, Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie. So even though Doug Flutie was not going to be he may have not even been picked in the first 6 rounds of the NFL draft. He was just a short, limited quarterback in many ways. Donald Trump signs him to the biggest contract in football history. And this is before the 1985 season, the final season in USFL play. USFL was the spring football league. Anyway, Trump does this. It starts going terribly. The USFL attendance is plummeting. The Generals' attendance is plummeting. Everyone knows it's a lame duck league, in large part because Donald Trump pursued a lawsuit against the NFL, an antitrust suit, convinced the other owners to follow him. It was basically a suicide pact. So Doug Flutie is quarterback of the Generals. The contract is terrible. Donald Trump writes a letter to the commissioner of the USFL, Harry Usher, CCs all the other owners of the other teams in USFL, and says, My signing of Doug Flutie has proven to be a wild success. It is beyond anyone's imagination of how great this is going. And because of this, I think it is only fair, since you are reaping the benefits of this as well, that all the other teams, you, the other owners, contribute to Doug's salary. I will send you future correspondence with a percentage of what you should be paying, et cetera, et cetera. And it was actually a total disaster. As I said, attendance plummeted. The league was dying. Flutie did nothing. Flutie didn't even play well. Flutie was a bad quarterback with the New Jersey Generals. Not only that, Donald Trump had Brian Sipe, the former NFL MVP, as his quarterback, but wanted Flutie for the attention. Trades Sipe to the Jacksonville Bulls. Flutie sucks. The team doesn't make the finals. Attendance plummets. And universally, all the owners say, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And it's really, honestly, it's a golden example. The USFL is a great example of what Trump became.
Now, please pay attention to how he promised. He signed this young man at the time, offering him all this money, the biggest contract ever in the history of NFL or of football at the time, and then wanted the other owners to pay it, telling them that he's doing all of this for you all, so you all need to get together and put in the money to pay for his contract. You're the one that signed it. Do you all hear this? This is all so ridiculous. So Trump's always been a whole fool. That's all I'm saying. Now, with that all been said, Hong Kong lawmaker Dominic Lee, with an epic speech at the UN on human rights, at the Human Rights Council in Geneva. This man went in. Okay, please pay attention. Let's get into it. Our reparations have always been hidden by nations. Okay, let's get into this. So this is all crazy. And mind you, Trump also got Herschel Walker, okay, during that whole thing in 1985. And I said, no wonder Herschel Walker has always had such an undying loyalty to Trump. Okay, he's been dealing with Trump.
I really want to ask, what moral authority does the United States, a country that's ruled by the Epsteins, have over my country, a country that has lifted over 800 million people out of poverty? What moral authority does Britain, a country that arrested over 12,000 of its own people for posting online, have to lecture us about civil liberties? And what moral authority do NATO countries that preach human rights in this very chamber, while turning a blind eye on the Zionist genocide in Gaza, have to tell us what justice looks like? We will not be silenced by nations that treat human rights as bargaining chips, a tool of foreign policy. We will not accept lectures from governments that use human rights as weapons while their own hands are stained with the blood of Palestinians and Iranians they choose to forget. And we will not rest until every nation in this chamber is held to the same standard, until hypocrisy crumbles, genocide is met with action, and peace is no longer a word we speak, but a world we build. Thank you, Mr. President.
Beautifully said, as far as I'm concerned, honey. He went all in. But listen, didn't I just tell y'all yesterday, if you remember, when the lady, I showed you all the video of the lady, the Chilean lady, who was visiting New York, was accosted by ICE, and her 12-year-old daughter left on the streets of New York to fend for herself. And they made an arrest of this lady, or detained her by mistake. So I told you all, that's going to mess up everything. People are not going to want to come to the United States, especially if these are people who don't look American. Okay, if they're from somewhere like Mexico or wherever. Okay, because they don't want to be attacked by ICE. But so now, guess what this means for the World Cup? Wait till y'all hear this. And, you know, I'm not surprised, because I knew this was coming. I told y'all weeks ago, the World Cup is just going to be, you know, it might as well be canceled. It might as well be canceled, because who wants to come here? I mean, just because of the U.S. being nefarious is enough to stay away, but also to know that you could be actually accosted and taken to an ICE concentration camp.
Well, it looks like the world is responding to the United States, and I love the way that they are. So basically, there are hotels all across the U.S. right now that like force reserved rooms for the FIFA World Cup, and they are having to slash rates and fucking open these rooms back up because nobody is buying these hotel rooms. Nobody's buying tickets to the World Cup because nobody wants to come to the United States right now because it's not safe. It's not safe for its own citizens, much less anybody traveling to the World Cup that might not look fucking white. So it just really warms my heart to see shit blow up in Donald Trump's face. I think they were.
Okay, I don't even know how I did that. Hold on. I don't even know how I did that, beloveds. I accidentally scrolled on something. But anyway, so as you can see, all of these hotels are saying that rooms are being canceled. Okay, people are just not coming. All right? People are just not coming. iCal says that is so beautiful. Anonymous said, Anonymous voice says, I'm ready to move to Mexico or Thailand. Okay? D Major said, what did you do, Queen? I don't know. I must have pressed on something, beloveds. I'm sorry. And I already deleted it out of my email as soon as I showed it. So can't go back to it. My bad. Okay, now, but here's the thing. Do y'all know they said that the FBI says Trump may not have been shot? You know, many people said that it was all fake and fraud. Okay, but let's get into it. Let's get into it because they said Trump may not have been shot.
May not have been shot at all. That, according to the head of the FBI testifying before Congress yesterday, Christopher Wray said that, yes, Trump was shot at. It could have been around 8 bullets or so. But whether the bullets hit Trump, nobody really knows. Now, Trump has been stating definitively within the first couple hours of the shooting that, oh, a bullet went through his ear, blah, this kind of crap. Now, the FBI is saying, no, not necessarily. Listen to this. With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear, Ray said. It's conceivable, although as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else. He's saying, a little odd that the bullet hit him and then went, into the stands. Like you'd think it would hit him and stay there. But I believe we've accounted for all the shots in the cartridges. This is FBI speak for saying Donald Trump is lying. He was not hit by a bullet. Now, again, this was an assassination attempt. Trump was fired at with 8 bullets, but it's not clear they hit him. Donald Trump may not have been shot at.
Listen, I think we all knew that Trump wasn't shot. He had that patch on his ear, and if you remember, I showed you all where one day he, in fact, had it on the wrong ear. Okay? It went from one ear to the next. So, I'm pretty sure that he didn't get shot. Now, maybe shrapnel, but definitely there was no bullet. Please, he was not hit by a bullet. So, with that all been said, Trump just told a reporter, we're going to have troops everywhere. Okay, people, get ready for martial law because that's what this all sounds like. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
What? You're going to have troops everywhere? What's crazy is that's not even the scariest part of this fucking video. But before I show you that, if you don't know by now, I'm CFH Unfiltered combat veteran and former sniper, and I started this channel because I actually give a fuck about my country. The scary part lies in the comments. So take a look at these 2 comments. These 2 comments, strangely enough, say the exact same thing. And look at that. The first comment is AI, a beautiful woman with big old titties, fucking AI. The second one, well, goddamn, it's the same thing now, ain't it? AI. So I got a question for you. Why is this entire comment section filled with AI supporting Donald Trump? The reason is this administration wants you to think that if you're against martial law, then you're the odd man out. Everybody else in your community agrees with it. So what can you do about it? Show your friends and family this kind of bullshit. Show them the comments. Show them the profiles. Show them this video and show them that these comments are AI.
Destroyed schools, refineries, hospitals, places of worship, universities, residential buildings, steel and pharmaceutical factories, research facilities, water sources, airports, and bridges. Hi, I'm Yara, and today I'm going to unpack how the US and Israel extensively bombed civilian infrastructure to pressure their adversaries to surrender, and how doing that is not only a war crime, it's also nothing new for either of them. Let's start with the US.
They're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah.
This type of tactic actually goes way back. During the Korean War, the US dropped so many bombs so relentlessly that it destroyed an estimated 85% of North Korea's buildings, almost entirely wiping out its infrastructure. In Vietnam, the US carried out extensive bombing campaigns that killed tens of thousands of civilians and also destroyed 65% of North Vietnam's oil storage capacity, 59% of its power plants, and 55% of its major bridges. We also saw this in Iraq during the Gulf War. The US struck electrical infrastructure and bridges, killing dozens of civilians and trapping others. One US airstrike killed more than 400 people when the US dropped 2 bombs on a public shelter, claiming it served as a military control center. In Syria, US-led coalitions were behind dozens of attacks on civilian infrastructure like schools. And if we rewind all the way back to World War II, that's when we see US aerial bombing campaigns becoming commonplace. A devastating example is the US firebombing of Tokyo, which killed around 100,000 civilians and destroyed half the city, leaving 1 million people without homes. One study found that decades after the attack, neighborhoods hit the hardest had a noticeably lower socioeconomic status. And of course, we can't forget the US's atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which killed at least 100,000 people directly and an estimated 100,000 people more from radiation later. In Hiroshima, more than 67% of buildings were destroyed or severely damaged, and in Nagasaki, 27% of residences were fully or partially demolished. And then there's Israel.
Israel must finish the job.
In Gaza, Israel has struck schools, hospitals, mosques, water sources, farms, the electrical grid, homes, and encampments. By the way, some analysts say that Israel's genocide in Gaza, which is carried out with full US backing, normalized the widespread attacks on civilian infrastructure that we see in Iran and in Lebanon. And despite a ceasefire, Israel continued to pummel Lebanon. It hit residential buildings, destroyed 87 ambulances or medical centers, and forced the shuttering of 5 hospitals in 1 month. It's almost always against international law to intentionally target civilian infrastructure in a war. Some legal experts say that even Trump's threats to destroy every bridge and decimate every power plant could itself be considered a war crime. Now, some supporters of these tactics claim that certain civilian infrastructure is dual use, meaning both civilians and militaries can benefit from it. But dual use is not an internationally defined legal term and doesn't legitimize attacks on life-sustaining infrastructure. Just because a military needs electricity, for example, doesn't mean you can bomb a power plant. Everyone needs electricity. Hospitals providing life-saving treatment, schools providing students with an education, people just trying to make food for themselves. Everyone. Anyway, if there's a particularly egregious case where
So with that all being said, that's something that Trump is talking about right now. If Iran doesn't do what he wants, he's talking about bombing, knocking out the lights and all of this crazy stuff. Now let's go to this clip from Professor Morandi. Pensacola says the revolution won't be televised. Absolutely. Not according to Gil Scott-Heron. Thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate your peace, love, and blessings.
Correct. But of course, people should keep in mind that it's not as if during the ceasefire, Iran is just sitting there and its armed forces are on vacation and the country's generals are, on skiing in the slopes of above Tehran. No, that's not what's going on. They too are preparing themselves 24 hours a day for the next round, which will, of course, as I said, be very difficult for these regimes in the Persian Gulf. They will they will bring about an end to their existence, in my opinion. But it is, I think, sort of like what we saw during the 12-Day War. Many people after the war, there are a couple of things that I have to myths that I would like to deal with here. One is after the 12-Day War, when Iran accepted the ceasefire, people were saying, why did they accept? That this was a crazy mistake. Iran also knew that if this war continued, even though it had the upper hand, the Americans would enter the war. And so the Iranians saw during the war their shortcomings, and they wanted to buy time to prepare themselves. And look at the astounding difference. This war, even though the firepower was much greater, because the Israeli regime on its own, it's not a force that can, continue fighting with Iran. It would be defeated. The U.S. brought all of its assets into its offensive assets into the region, and assaulted the country, yet the amount of damage that they did to Iran's military was less than during the 12-day war. So a lot of work was done during those, after the 12-day war. And if Iran hadn't done that and the United States had entered the fight, it would have been much more costly for Iran. So Iran is preparing itself, without a doubt, for the next phase.
Yeah, Iran's not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They're getting ready for it, okay? And they don't even know for sure if the devils are going to keep their end of the bargain as it pertains to the ceasefire. Now, Trump's already crying foul and saying that Iran has broken the ceasefire. But I'm sorry, didn't he already do so? Okay, with the whole blockade? Because I'm sure that was not part of the agreement. And also, I want to say this is the first war in my lifetime where priests and the Pope has had to come out. Okay, and pastors, and have had to come out and speak on the president and what's going on. Now, here we have a priest. Let's hear what he has to say. And then I want to go to a speech by Pope Leo.
Catholic in the United States, from progressive to traditional, who doesn't have strong feelings about the comments made by President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance about Pope Leo XIV. They include not only President Trump's initial very disrespectful Truth Social post about the Holy Father, but also Vice President Vance's likewise disrespectful comments about Pope Leo having to be careful when he speaks about theology. So let me share some of my own feelings. First of all, I find it shocking that a president and a vice president would treat such a good, holy, and learned man like Pope Leo with such disdain and contempt. Imagine telling a man with the Holy Father's learning and experience and authority that he doesn't understand theology sufficiently. This is a guy who has his master's in divinity and a doctorate in canon law from a pontifical university. And imagine attacking him as ridiculously weak on crime, as if he's some mayor or governor, and somehow not understanding foreign policy. Remember, the Vatican has been working with political leaders and military leaders since at least the time of Charlemagne. The Pope and the Vatican know a lot about foreign policy. Second, more positively, I'm really edified by Pope Leo's charitable and courageous response to all this. Charitable because he hasn't responded in any way other than with charity and respect, and in a very mild way. As some of you may know, I know the Holy Father slightly, thanks to our being seated together at the Synod for 2 weeks in October 2024. And I know him to be a kind, reserved, discerning, and highly intelligent person. In a word, he's holy. But he's courageous too. As we've seen during his time in Africa, Pope Leo has not shied away from continuing to preach the gospel and speaking out in favor of peace. And yes, he understands St. Augustine's concept of the just war. He is an Augustinian after a while. And as he said also, against tyrants and those who would use God's name to support violence and bloodshed in war. So now where will all this end? It's kind of hard to say, but I would imagine that now that the taboo has been broken, politicians will continue to denigrate him and thus try to persuade people, without saying so explicitly, to think that the Pope's words do not need to be listened to. So it's a way of trying to marginalize his voice. But I think this will be in vain for two reasons. First of all, Pope Leo is clearly fearless. You know, a few hours after he was elected as Pope, I spoke with an Augustinian priest right in front of the Augustinianum in Rome, who had known, as he said, Bob, as he called him, for decades. So I said, what's he like? And he said, he's a great listener. He's very kind. He's a great administrator. And he's very much beloved by the Augustinians. Then he paused and said, but he's no pushover. So we have to remember that. But the main reason that the Pope's words will be heard is less about Robert Prevost's own many virtues, but something else. The Vicar of Christ will be heard because he's preaching the gospel. Remember, as Jesus told his disciples, heaven and earth may pass away, but my words will never pass away. So in these strange times, we pray for the Holy Father, and most of all, We fear not. God bless you.
Okay, now let's go to Pope Leo's speech. I have to agree with him. Why do they have such utter disdain for Pope Leo? You see, that's the thing about Trump. This is how it's so obvious and apparent that he's a whole narcissist. And so is Keg's brother. And I don't want to use that term loosely, like just call everybody a narcissist. But the thing is, a narcissist will never accept any accountability or culpability for their misgivings or their shortcomings or for things that they fail at. They will never admit fault. Instead, they will lash out at those who call them out on their BS, those who tend to criticize them. And they will deem them as fools, low IQs, liars, and all of these things. And even threaten and intimidate them to boot. That's what they will do because they just will not accept any accountability. And if you don't go along with their program or push their narrative with them, then you are deemed as the enemy. Okay, so let's continue. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share.
Being ravaged by a handful of tyrants, yet is held together by a multitude of supportive brothers and sisters. The masters of war pretend not to know that it takes only a moment to destroy. Yet often, a lifetime is often not enough to rebuild. They turn a blind eye to the fact that billions of dollars are spent on killing, on devastation, yet the resources needed for healing, education, and restoration are nowhere to be found. Those who rob your land of its resources generally invest much of the profit in weapons, thus perpetuating an endless cycle of destabilization and death. The world is...
Okay, absolutely no lies told. Okay, and I'm glad that he's speaking out. At the end of the day, now I want you all to listen to MAGA Karen here, where she's calling herself, she's supposedly a Christian, but she agrees with every bit of what Trump is doing. And has the nerve to talk about the Democrats. Please pay attention.
If you're a Christian and you're voting for the Democrats, which kind of seems like an oxymoron to me.
Does it?
I need for you to please explain why. I know no party is perfect, but there's one party in particular that holds to more traditional Christian morals and values.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't agree more.
And it's not the Democrats.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we don't agree. That's okay.
I mean, no disrespect. I am just having a really hard time, as are my fellow Christians, reconciling the two. I think maybe that's something you need to think about.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because this is a topic that I have thought about quite a bit. And I've actually had discussions with some of my friends who are Christian. I am not religious, but that's fine. I don't knock anybody who is religious, and whatever religion they choose to practice that's best for them. More power to you. I love it. But just because I'm not religious doesn't mean I haven't read. And in my readings about Jesus and Christianity, I find some very clear parallels between his teachings and certain policies. The most straightforward example I can think of is Matthew 25, 35 through 40. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. That sounds like taking care of people less fortunate than you. If they're hungry, give them some food. If they're thirsty, give them some water. That sounds like the liberal policies of SNAP and free and reduced lunches, helping those less fortunate. Matthew 25 goes on to say, I was a stranger and you invited me in. To me, that sounds like the Dreamers, the Dream Act, taking in refugees. The Republican response to that seems to usually be build a wall, keep those people out, mass deportations. I was sick and you looked after me. And on top of that, Jesus was known for healing the sick and not asking for anything in return. He believed everyone had a right to live and be healthy. Sounds like universal health care, which is a traditionally liberal policy. He was in favor of taxes. Render unto Caesars the things that are Caesar's. And he didn't value wealth and was probably for the redistribution of wealth when he says it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get through the gates of heaven. Now, this is not me trying to tell anybody how to vote or how to interpret their religion when they would like to base their vote on their religion. That's fine. That's not what I'm trying to do. It just seems strange to me when Christians say, well, obviously I'm voting for the Republicans, or I'm voting for the Republicans because I'm a Christian. The teachings of Jesus don't really seem to align too frequently with the platform of the Republican Party, at least not today. But like I said, you get to vote any way you want. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, because Karen sounded ridiculous. Karen sounded utterly ridiculous. Now let's go to this video where Eric Warsaw, he talks about how Satan Yahoo said that none of the IDF soldiers would be boots on the ground in Iran. But isn't Trump fighting this war because of him? Okay, but our troops are going to be boots on the ground possibly, but not his. Okay, now remember, I told you all this weeks ago.
He's already said that there's going to be no IDF soldiers going into Iran. It's going to be all U.S. military. And we're doing this war on their behalf. This is like disrespectful and ridiculous.
So no boots on the ground for Israel, for the IDF, but boots on the ground for our Marines.
And you want to add an extra slap on the face,
Yeah.
salt on the wound,
Yeah.
is that if any serious injuries to American military personnel, they have to go all the way to Germany to get medical treatment, not Israel. Much, much closer Israel. Ain't that's just completely, Netanyahu does not care.
I have to agree. I absolutely have to agree. Now, in this clip, I want you to listen to what this judge says, because he clearly is out of touch with reality or just not that smart. Either way, it isn't good.
We're trying to fix a system that is corrupt, so there's a money laundering machine where dollars go from red states and responsible, hardworking Americans to go to blue states like California to give money to people who are illegal or who are able-bodied. We want to.
How can you possibly fix a problem when you don't even know what it is? Did this person literally just say the corruption, red states giving money to blue states? Are you serious right now? The top 10 most federally dependent states are all red states, my friend. We're talking about Medicare. We're talking about SNAP. We're talking about all forms of federal assistance. Top 10 states, all red. And these people are largely uneducated, poor, and sick. I guess I must ask, if they are so hardworking, why are they so poor? Is it them or is it you? Or could it possibly be just that prayer doesn't fix poverty? Yeah, you can't pray away your bills, my friend. So until you can identify the cause of a problem, you cannot fix it. You cannot fix it. You cannot live in denial and fix a problem. I mean, I didn't realize that, nearly 20% of the people that live in Louisiana were on food stamps because they were giving all of their money to California? Is that what you're saying? The state that is the second least dependent state on the federal government, huh? Second only to New Jersey. Both of those are blue states, my friend. And I've spent a lot of time in some of these states, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and I know a lot of people in these states where it's literally kind of a part of the culture, the goal, to get on federal assistance. Why wouldn't it be? They have no hope to ever make a decent living, Well, are they going to go get a job making $7 an hour somewhere? They probably make more money on federal assistance. There's no industry. There's no opportunity. There's no education. There's nothing but poverty. Yeah. And of course, there's people like this everywhere, but it's rampant in these states because the states have set the stage and created the environment for that to thrive because they're red states. They do not care one bit about their people. That's not a thing. So if you want to fix the problem, maybe try figuring out what it is first. And then you can run your mouth.
It's not. Okay, I have to agree because he had no idea what he was talking about as far as I'm concerned. Now let's go to this clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene because about 2 or 3 days ago she was on Piers Morgan. I think that's how long ago it was. At least that's when this clip was posted. It says Trump covered up Epstein files and told me it would be my fault if my son got killed. This is what she supposedly, I haven't watched this clip, but supposedly that's what Trump told her. Well, that sounds like a whole threat to me, if in fact he did say it. Let me put my overlay on here. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance.
He's covering it up. He fought us the entire time. He did everything in his power to stop the Epstein files to be released. He even forced Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, to do everything he could do to stop it from being released. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. We were even shut down for 8 weeks. We had a government shutdown back in the fall of 2025 for 8 weeks. And I believe that was part of trying to prevent the Epstein files from coming out. The only time I reached out to him was via text message after I had resigned and he had been attacking me, and I was receiving it in just, I can't even count how many death threats. And but the death threats escalated on one of my children, and I had sent those death threats to the FBI director, Kash Patel. I sent them to the Vice President, J.D. Vance, Susie Wiles, James Blair, and I even texted the president. And I was so upset over death threats on my children because of him. And the quotes and the death threat were from what the president had been calling me a traitor. And I'm not a traitor to my country. Standing up for rape victims doesn't make me a traitor. And I reached out to the president and to let him know this is what's happening because what you're saying about me. And he was very unkind about these death threats. And so that was our last exchange.
What did he say to you?
He basically blamed me. He had no compassion for death threats on my children. He blamed me basically that if my son were to get killed, it would be my fault.
How low down and dirty was that? Now, I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but clearly her son has nothing to do with this. And for Trump to say that if her son gets killed, it'll be her fault after he's been saying all these hateful things to make people angry at her, it's just absolutely egregious. But let's continue.
Of writing down the 11 scientists and engineers who've either gone missing or been found dead under mysterious circumstances in the United States over the past 2 years. And I have it right here. Number 1, Amy Eskridge.
Okay, so please pay attention because previously we were told that there were 9 scientists missing. Now he's saying there's 11, and then another one comes back after him and says there's 12. Okay, please pay attention.
She was found dead in June 2022. She was the one who came out and said she was being targeted and followed and then was found dead not long later. She was researching anti-gravity propulsion systems and electrostatic propulsion systems. Number 2, Michael David Hicks. He was found dead in July 2023. He was researching Earth space observation systems, so things like near-Earth objects and comets. Number 3, Frank Maywald. He was found dead in July 2024. He was working on planetary robotics systems like the Mars rover. Number 4, Anthony Chavez. He went missing in May 2025. Not much is known about what he was researching, but he had clearance at the Los Alamos National Lab. That's where they do the nuclear stuff. Number 5, Monica Reza went missing in June 2025. She was working on orbital communication systems. Number 6, Melissa Casillas went missing June 2025. Again, not much is known about what she was researching, but she did have very high security clearance at Los Alamos National Lab. Number 7, Stephen Garcia went missing August 2025. He was a nuclear weapons engineer. Number 8, this one's fairly close to me. This is Jason Thomas. He was found dead in a lake in January 2026, but went missing in December 2025 when he left his house without his wallet or keys for no reason. He was working on chemical biology and experimental drug development. Number 9, Nuno Loureiro was shot dead in December 2025. He was working on plasma physics and fusion science. Number 10, Carl Grillmare was found dead in February 2026. He was researching exoplanets, stellar streams, and near-Earth objects. And finally, number 11, William McCasland went missing in February 2026. He was the director of the Air Force Research Lab. He was working on advanced military research and development like hypersonics, directed energy systems, and advanced propulsion tech. Now, normally I'm not one for conspiracy theories unless they're absolutely airtight. I feel like speculation doesn't help anyone with anything. But when you start to get 11 points that create the same line, I feel like we're leaving speculation land pretty quick. This feels like the beginning of a movie where I end up running through a field and hiding in a barn while there's aliens above me. And that's because I'm the main character in my movie. You could also be the main character in your film where you're running through a field. Or maybe you're in the pod. Maybe it's a short film. I don't know, but this is not looking good, guys.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with these scientists coming up missing. It just all sounds nefarious. Now, here's a report where this lady says there's now 12 of them missing.
We may now have 12 missing or dead scientists. But this pattern, I don't think it started in 2022. No, I think it started in 2014. And scientist number 12 that I'm about to tell you about right now said something to her own son that I can't stop thinking about, right? Her name was Dr. Ning Li. She was a Chinese-American physicist working in Huntsville, Alabama. That is the same city as Amy Eskridge, scientist number 11, the one I told you about earlier today. That's not a coincidence, right? Huntsville is America's gravity research hub, and Dr. Ning Li was the reason why. In the early 1990s, she published papers describing how to build a practical gravity modification device, right? Using superconductors, not theory, a device. NASA started working with her, and scientists described what she built as a gravity-like force that you could point in any direction. In 1999, she was featured in Discover magazine, and then she vanished from public life. Founded a company called AC Gravity, LLC, got nearly $500,000 in DoD funding in 2001, and then nothing. She fell off the face of the earth. No results ever became public. Her research became classified, top secret clearance. She legally could not publish or speak about her findings to anyone. Her son said in an article that when he asked her about her work, she looked at him and said, "I don't know anything, and neither do you. And if you do, you forgot." Tragically, in 2014, she was crossing the street on her own campus when a car struck her. Permanent brain damage. Her husband actually witnessed the accident and suffered a heart attack on the scene. He died the following year, but she developed Alzheimer's and spent her final years unable to remember or speak.
Question. So the husband witnessed it and had a heart attack on the scene? That's really crazy. Do you all hear this? Now, did he have a heart attack on the scene, or did someone shoot something at him, like maybe one of those ice bullets with the toxins in it that cause one to have a heart attack, and then the bullet melts because it's made of ice and there's nothing left? This is all sounds crazy. Do y'all hear this? And here's the thing. It is a common thing, in my opinion, for when they're trying to get rid of people, that these people are struck down by cars. You remember when Harvey Weinstein was on trial the first time, the psychologist, Dr. Barbara Ziv, who was walking across the street after court one day, was plowed down by a car. Now, luckily for her, she lived, but someone clearly tried to take her up out of here. Okay, I want you all to pay attention.
She died in Huntsville on July 27th, 2021. A year later, Amy Eskridge, the woman researching gravity modification in the same city, yeah, she's dead too. This isn't a cluster of coincidences anymore. This is a timeline, and it goes back further than anyone has been talking about. 12 scientists, one pattern. I'm going to keep digging. I fear we may now have 12.
Keep digging. Okay, I love people who do research. This is all crazy. Now let's go to this clip. I believe this is the last one. And then we're going to convene. We're going to be out of here because I have to come back at 4:30. Okay. Like so, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, I call says the devil has no conscience. Exactly.
Wild coincidence. So just a week ago, I posted this video talking about the 9 different scientists that went missing or unalived in the last couple of years. And in the last week, since I posted this, 2 more have been added to that list. But that's not even what this post is about. That's just a strange coincidence. I simply wanted to reference this video because in it, I speculated that the Artemis mission was actually a DART mission. And I have not heard anyone else say the same thing. Now, that was a pretty bold claim at the time, but there's been a lot of scrutiny of this mission since then. Between the green screen interviews, the photo shoot that looks like it was probably made by AI, and an awkward moment where this astronaut seems to forget her lines, safe to say that this entire mission has gotten kind of weird.
It got weird, didn't it?
Yeah.
I knew it.
But this next connecting of dots is something I did not expect. November 24th, 2021, NASA launches DART, which is Double Asteroid Redirection Test. This is effectively throwing darts at asteroids with the intention of redirecting them. And this is what NASA loves doing. They love coming up with acronyms that relate to the mission itself. So throwing darts is a perfect metaphor to this actual mission. Interesting then that one of the scientists that worked on the DART missions is one of those that went missing. And the laboratory responsible for developing this technology? Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, which works in collaboration with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is completely tied to all these other scientists. It's not such a leap then that I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe all this stuff is linked. But wait, there's more. During the eclipses of October of 2023 and April of 2024, NASA launched the APEP missions. What does APEP stand for? Atmospheric Perturbations Around Eclipse Path. It's a weird freaking name. Almost like they came up with the acronym first and then just tried to wedge words in that would work with it. Because as we know, NASA loves their acronyms that have a double meaning. Do you know what the other meaning for APEP is? It's the other name for Apophis. And what's the asteroid that could possibly impact Earth in the near future? Apophis. In 2029, it comes really close, and then if it hits a keyhole, then potentially it could hit Earth in 2036. Now, scientists are saying that it's not going to, but I think they're lying. And they're lying for reasons that I explain in other videos. You can go look those up. If Apophis did impact the world and it had global consequences, then the name suits the asteroid because Apophis is the god of destruction. In the Bible, they call it wormwood. And this is where it gets crazy. So this is what it says in Revelation. The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many people died from the water because it had been made bitter. Okay, so what? So there's a biblical prophecy that talks about a potential asteroid, and then there are these missions that seem like they're trying to divert asteroids. How am I connecting all this? Do you know what the scientific name for wormwood is? I'm at a loss for words. You cannot make this shit up. Artemisia, absinthium, Artemis. Think about it. Imagine that there's an imminent impact with Earth. Would NASA spend any of their time and resources on doing anything else beyond trying to stop that from happening? Of course not. But if all their missions told the public what was happening, you would have utter chaos. So they have to cover it up. And this Artemis 2 mission is so fake because it had nothing to do with bringing people around the moon. It was a DART mission. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it for now, and stick with me for more.
Okay, so that's very interesting the way he put all that together. Okay, he was connecting some dots. All right, C-Stan, thank you. C-Stan says blessings. Thank you, beloved. Blessings back to you. And thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, with that all being said, listen, I want you to pay attention to the fact that when he talked about Revelation chapter 8, the trumpet, how many of you once in the chat, if you remember back in 2020 when Trump and Pence were in office, and I told you all that in the Bible, when they're talking about the trumpets, the sound of the trumpets and all that, I told you all back then that Trump was the Antichrist. He had the Antichrist spirit, and that in fact, think about Trump, Pence. That's the reference for trumpets, the sound of the trumpets. How many of you remember me telling you that once in the chat? How many of you remember me telling you that? Anyone? Anyone? That's right. 7 trumpets in Revelation, says Terry Hinton, as well as songwriter study. Okay, so you all remember. Now, the reason I ask you if you remember is because after I did that video and I did a TikTok about it, where I gave my reasoning and showed receipts for why I feel like Trump is absolutely someone with the Antichrist spirit, I sent that video to my good friend Sophia Stewart, okay, the mother of the Matrix, the lady who wrote The Matrix and Terminator, and she responded back to me saying, hold on. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. She said, a reminder and Revelation when the trumpets sound. Read Revelation. Very important. Donald Trump, trumpet sounding. They're talking about him. Okay, he is the trumpet. I said, I told my people that back in 2020. Now, I want you all to pay attention. You know, we're both shamans, so we have a lot of the same thinkings on things. So I want you all to pay attention. Trump is absolutely the Antichrist. I think we all can agree at this point. Okay, I think we all can agree at this point. So nothing's going to come from him except devilish things. And here's the thing. Is this the real Trump? Now, someone brought this to my attention last night. Someone who is a friend of the show, and they've been on here a few times. And I was talking to him last night, and he said, I didn't even think that's the real Trump. And then he brought up what Dick Gregory said about there being 2 Donald Trumps, one who would wear the red tie and the other that would wear the blue. So I don't know, but this is all getting real crazy. And you know that I absolutely believe that some of these people are reptilians. That's just my opinion. Now, I can't substantiate or confirm that. I'm just telling you my thoughts and opinions. And it may sound crazy to some of you, but from what we've read and found out about the reptilians, I think it's highly plausible, especially since so much in the Epstein files talks about the consumption of human flesh and the drinking of human blood. Okay, please pay attention. Terry Hinton says prophecy is being fulfilled. Well, here's the thing. I think that in most of the case that Satan, Yahoo, and Trump, I think that they're absolutely also scripting some of the prophecy, like we're watching a movie. Okay, I think some of this, they're scripting it, and they're following through with the script. The next thing I expect for them to come up with is Project Bluebeam, where they put a vision or image of a fake Messiah in the skies or something crazy like that. Okay, and also today is April 19th and tomorrow's the 20th. With that all being said, I hope nothing crazy happens, because you know when these wanton supremacists do foolish things, it is often on this day. Okay, so until next time, beloveds, listen, I'll be back. Let me go ahead and drop the link again for the next broadcast, which will be starting at 4:30. Okay, so even if you don't get a link, just come to the channel. There's the link right there. I mean, not a link. If you don't get a notification, okay, just come back to the channel. All right, and for anyone who hasn't been receiving notifications, I implore you to please double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, because people have been subscribed in the past few days also. All right, so with that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick. Hit 'em with that flavor.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got